And now, let's have a little fun. It's my pleasure to introduce my good friend, Jason Wells, CEO of Centerpoint, and our incoming 2027 Sports Breakfast Chair. And joining him, the 2009 first-round draft pick of our Houston Texans, the 2009 Defensive Rookie of the Year, NFL Pro Bowler, and someone who played every down with intensity, heart, and toughness. Ladies and gentlemen, Houston Texans legend, Brian Cushing.
Well, good morning, everyone. Before I turn to you, Brian, to start the conversation, I'd love to flash a photo on the screen if we could. Not just any photo, I think it's one of the most iconic images in Texans history. Every time I look at it, the only word that comes to mind is commitment. Tell us a little bit about that moment. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, not a lot, not a whole lot at that moment. Clearly, it's one of those instances where you kind of get in a situation, you're about 90% in and realize you better go 100. Had my helmet off and realized the guy was coming at me, and he had his helmet on, unfortunately. But, you know, I think it sent the message, and probably the most popular picture by far. I've signed a good amount of those.
I bet.
One of those I had to explain to my kids when they were a little bit younger, but fortunately enough, now I think it's pretty cool.
Did you think about coming out of the game at that moment?
I had to. Luckily, we only had about a minute left at halftime.
Yeah.
So was able to get stitched up and get back out there. It was kind of my big concern was how am I going to put a helmet back on? And for weeks to come, it was a little uncomfortable, but
I bet.
it healed up.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. So you grew up in New Jersey, were first recruited by the Naval Academy, ended up playing at USC, one of the premier football programs. When did you know you could play in the NFL, and not just play, but dominate? What was that journey like?
Yeah, so, you know, I grew up playing a good amount of sports. Actually was the first person in my family to play football. My mom did not want me to, thought I'd get hurt, thought I wasn't big enough, and would play football all growing up, elementary schools and in the yard and you know, blacktops and all that. And all the football dads were telling my dad, like, I think you should probably play. So eventually let me in, and it just fit my personality perfectly. Like, I just loved it. And it's probably about my junior year of college was when I kind of thought maybe I had a chance, you know, to play. I'm sorry, junior year of high school was when I really kind of got exposed to some recruiting, some bigger schools came on board, and really understood, like, I wanted to do that. Probably wasn't until USC, though, till that was really, you know, confirmed in my mind that I had a chance, right? We practiced and played with so many guys that had been drafted previously before me, and saw them, how they prepared, how they worked, and how they made it, and how successful they were in the NFL, and figured, you know, they were on that path, and that was something I wanted to follow.
Yeah, incredible. You were telling me that at one point you were considering baseball. What was that moment that made you switch to football?
Yeah, I thought I was, you know, the next Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, all those guys, until my junior year of high school. I think we were about 28-1, and we were playing in the state semifinals in New Jersey. I faced a guy named Rick Porcello, who ended up being a Cy Young winner for the Red Sox, and that was kind of my moment where I realized he was a lot better than I was. Right, really could not tell fastball, changeup, curveball till it was about 3 inches in front of my face, and committed to football pretty much that night. I think. Told my dad I love the sport, but there's people out there that are a lot better than me, and if I have to face that every week, I don't think I'll be playing baseball too much longer.
So you didn't look back after that?
I didn't. No, it was pretty humbling, but also it was you know, it was a good experience.
Sure.
It was a good learning experience. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, teamwork is such an important part of scouting. You've been a part of elite teams, particularly your time with the Texans, playing with J.J. Watt, D'Amico Ryans, Arian Foster. Tell us about teamwork, something from the locker room, sort of behind closed doors. What was it like to be part of a team, and how did you foster that level of teamwork?
Yeah, I think I was extremely fortunate to come into a really good situation. I think it all really started off with Gary Kubiak. One of his first team meetings was kind of a really eye-opening, transparent experience for me, and it was incredible just to see how things kind of operate in the NFL. One of his initial messages was, everybody's here. I'm going to treat everybody fair, but not the same.
Yeah.
And your productivity will dictate our tolerance for you.
Yeah.
And just let it be flat out known right there. And that was pretty much the most honest message I ever heard in my first team meeting in the NFL. I just laid the guidelines out right there, and I think everybody kind of understood their role and how they can contribute, and what their job was. And the best teams were the guys that really honed in on that, accepted who they were, what they were being asked to do, and just were fully committed to that.
What do you miss most about those days?
Miss the locker room.
Yeah.
I miss the locker room a lot. I miss the competitive environment, the locker room, the team bonding. I miss the games. I don't miss camp. Don't really miss the off season. Love traveling with the team. Always a really cool, great experience. I actually really enjoyed playing on the road. Especially when the team's playing well and you go into a hostile environment, 53 guys, and there's nothing better. Walking in and everyone's going crazy. Walking out, it's dead silent. You guys are going home with a win. It's a really nice way to ruin everyone's day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except our Texan fans and
Sure.
and the players. Really unique experience.
Was there one of those road games that really stands out to you?
Yeah. There's certain places that you just really want to win because it's just so annoying. And you just hear the worst things, but I guess you can say it's all in good fun, most of it. New Orleans was always very loud, very loud. Seattle was loud. And obviously loved winning anytime in Indianapolis, Tennessee, or Jacksonville. Always great. And Dallas.
Sure. Yeah. So you're the greatest tackler in Texans history. You've hit a lot of people. Who did you not look forward to hitting the most?
Yeah. There were some tough guys out there. Yeah. There were some guys that did not care who you were, and they were going to run as hard as they could at you. There were some big linemen, but it was always the running backs, and that was the thing I realized in the NFL was like every week you're facing an elite running back. Every team had a really good number one. Marshawn Lynch, Adrian Peterson, Brandon Jacobs, Cedric Benson. It was always the guys that can kind of do both, right? They were big, but they were fast. Everybody falls in love with the kind of bigger backs and say, how hard is he to tackle? I'm like, it wasn't very hard to tackle. It's when he gets to the second level of the DBs and they know they're bigger, and that's when they try to really tee off on them. But I kind of like getting the bigger guys before they got going.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guys that were kind of the hybrid that could do both, they can give you a headache, literally. And then on top of it, fast enough, you have to be able to cover them and not get juked out of your socks. So it could be an interesting Sunday.
So you don't put tight ends in that category, or is it the running backs?
There were some tight ends too, for sure. There were some quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger, Cam Newton, just big guys that can run too. Played Vince Young in college. Not a fun experience. I think that was the first guy I ever ran by me, and I felt a gust of wind behind him. It was like, that's a different human right there.
Sure.
He's pretty good. So one of those eye-opening experiences. But there's a lot of every week you go and it's like, yeah, I don't really want to, but I'm gonna have to hit this guy. Yeah, it's kind of part of my job. So I better do it.
So you had a pretty extraordinary family. Your father served in Vietnam.
Yes.
Mother was born in a German labor camp.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it. Your great-great-uncle won the Medal of Honor at the Gettysburg. How did your family life shape your leadership, your orientation towards service? Yeah.
I think growing up, just being introduced from a very young age, like I saw my mom, especially my mom's side, I saw a lot of her resiliency, right? I saw how she had to come to America and how difficult it was for her, but also never really heard her complain too much about it. Like just ultimate American dream and made the most out of the situation. And, always held that dear to my heart. And anytime I thought I was struggling or had a problem or my lunch wasn't packed correctly, thinking about how long she went without food, right? And how long it took her to travel across the Atlantic Ocean to get here. And really just put in perspective for me the things that she went through to give me a better life. And then on my dad's side of the family, obviously there was a lot of military connection. Many of them served, and just having such a, respect and honor for that decision, their service, and their dedication. So, very big part of my life growing up.
Absolutely.
And, like I said, there's something I'm very honored and proud of.
I grew up in a military family. My dad was in the Navy, and it was really taught me the importance of duty over self.
Sure.
It's always stuck with me. But tell me how you developed your leadership, both on the field and off the field.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of trial and error,
Yeah.
right? And trying to figure out, your personality and when's the right time to do something, when's the right time to show something and not say something, right? I think a lot of it is led by example. And over the years, just kind of figuring out who I was, what my strengths and my weaknesses were, trying to work on my weaknesses, and just my ability to communicate with teammates, coaches, and keeping your word, right? I think all of it sounds great, but again, you have to be able to show the message that you continue to preach. So that was, it developed over time.
Sure.
It took me some time. Again, a lot of trial and error and experience, right? You just can't come in as a rookie telling everybody what you think is best for the team. You could, probably wouldn't turn out too well or gain a lot of respect, but just one of those things. It definitely was a practice that I had to kind of fall down a couple times to be successful at, but also was able to transition to other parts of my life as well now.
So was there a coach that helped kind of also shape your leadership approach?
I think so. I know so. There was so many good coaches I was able to have the ability to be around, right? In college, just watching Pete Carroll run a team meeting room, and then we break off and I'm in the linebacker room with Ken Norton Jr. And just his mindset and approach to every day, and seeing that these guys really didn't have an off day. Even when they weren't at their best, they still found a way to push through, preach the right message, and coach the best of their ability to share that knowledge and hopefully transition, to the players. So, then getting to the NFL was, again, Gary Kubiak, Bill O'Brien, Romeo Crennel, all these guys that I was able to, even D'Amico Ryans, he was so obvious from the start, like, this guy's gonna coach one day, right? And I came in, I think it was D'Amico's 5th year when I was a rookie, and I was nervous. I didn't really want to talk to him. I thought he'd probably be pissed off to draft another linebacker, and I was kind of real hesitant, and he approached me, and that's just who he is, just straightforward, honest, try to help me as best as he could, pour all of his knowledge into me, and then, I think expecting me then one day to do it to someone else. And that was his kind of leadership abilities that really hit home for me.
Did you give it back then?
Yeah. D'Amico eventually ended up leaving, and there was the next crop of younger linebackers than me, one being in particular Bernard McKinney, and then I kind of felt like I had that role for him. And really any rookies or guys that were coming in kind of lost or unsure of themselves, just, settling them down and letting them know that, they could do this.
So one of the things that I find most extraordinary about your background is life after you took the cleats off. You and your wife, Megan, started the Brian Cushing Foundation, really focused on supporting veterans and their families. Tell me, how did that become your focus? Talk about the foundation. Love to hear more.
Yeah, well, I think, again, going back to my childhood and kind of being surrounded with a lot of military service, one of those things that really kind of hit home and had a passion for. So while I was playing, was able to, help with a bunch of different military bases, kind of waiting rooms in medical areas. Took a USO tour to Germany and Kuwait. So spent some time overseas with our troops. Just really cool, unique experiences I wouldn't be able to do anywhere else. So yeah, that was the kind of focal point when I was playing. The foundation was geared towards that. Houston military, but also nationwide as well.
Yeah. What's your current passion with the foundation these days?
It's the same, it's similar. Really just kind of the outreach and being able to, help out whoever I can or what's exactly needed at the time. But most importantly, just, staying in touch with the people that I've met through the years of having that ability to run that foundation has really been a cool experience.
I can imagine. So you've stayed active in the Houston community. You've got a youth training facility, the Garage.
Yep.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, about 3-4 years ago, opened a facility over in Spring Branch, right off Long Point, Antoine. It was kind of just an ideal situation for me. I always envisioned a place where my kids could go work out, hang out, train, do their homework, whatever. I really liked the thought of them growing up in that kind of environment, and then it kind of blossomed to a really whole team sport facility. We have fortunate enough to have an indoor area, a field outside, a weight room. Just a really cool place for kids to go after school or with their team, work on personal training or a selective sport or just a camp or sports in general. So just a really cool, unique spot for kids to go and hang out, but also get better at the same time.
Spend some of your time coaching?
Yeah, good amount of time coaching. I was heavily involved in my kids' sports from 5 till probably 11. 11's kind of when, the paid coaches who know a lot more than you come in and kind of tell you to sit in the stands and just be quiet, which is fine with me. I had a really good amount of time and years with my kids. I think during really a critical phase in their life and development. I also have a 5-year-old though, so I'm going to be turning back and doing it all over again. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that opportunity. That's
awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm sure not just your kids, but other youth that come to the Garage, they look to you for advice. What's the most important advice you can give an up-and-coming athlete these days?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's such an interesting era of youth sports, and I think just development of kids overall. Anytime that kids are in there for 2-3 hours, not an iPad or some kind of electronic device, I think it's a win. It's a sense of community too. I think kids can come in there and meet other kids that are like-minded and end up being friends with them. Biggest thing I think I preach is just attitude, effort, 2 things they can control, and play as many sports as long as you can. I think there's been such an influx of this pressure of kids having to be selective in one sport from a young age. They don't even know what they like, right? They don't know how big they're going to be or what their passion is quite yet. But I think there's so many sports that translate to others, that can help with others. But not only that, but just from the whole teamwork, and team experience atmosphere can help them for whatever they want to do in life.
Oh, it's so important. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Houston wasn't where you grew up, but it's your home now.
It is.
What had you stay here in Houston?
Yeah, just, played here for a decade. Got real familiar with everybody and everything we needed in the city. We had all 3 of our boys here. Just became home. I'm from New Jersey. My wife is from Salt Lake, so it was essentially perfect located, and really good place to raise a family.
Absolutely.
Just from the whole school, sports, community, it was just a perfect combination. We felt home.
Well, that's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. Well, ladies and gentlemen, help me thank the greatest tackler in Texans history, a man who set up a foundation to serve those who protect us every day, a man who shows up for Houston each and every day. Please join me in thanking Brian Cushing for his time this morning.
Thank you.